talk to us about these latest statements from Netanyahu and the likelihood whether we'll actually see this passing.
Yeah, so listen, now the likelihood is much higher than it was even 24 hours ago. I mean, this all sort of happened in really rapid succession, where on sort of Wednesday evening, we heard that there had been a deal reached between Hamas and Israel. And this, of course, has been a long-awaited thing. This is something that's been negotiated for months and months and months in Doha by the Egyptians, by the Qataris, by the Israelis, by the United States. And finally, it seemed that there would be a ceasefire, a 6-week ceasefire to get on the table. Then there were some stumbling blocks over the last 24 hours. There was disagreements, we understand, on the veto rights about who would be released in terms of the Palestinian prisoners over that period of time. But it appears now that after that sort of extended negotiations in the last 24 hours, hearing from the Israeli Prime Minister this morning, saying that basically he is satisfied with those, and that means that the Security Cabinet will then convene today. They will vote on it. And if that moves forward, and this is what we expect now, we will have the first hostage releases when this deal goes into effect on Sunday. We understand that the first hostages to be released will be 3 women during that period of time. Over the next couple of weeks, there will be hostages released progressively. That will also mean that prisoners will be released from the Israeli side to the Palestinian side. But critically, what it will also mean is obviously a ceasefire and the sort of total stopping of fighting within Gaza and the beginning of the withdrawal of the Israeli troops from the populated areas of central Gaza to the east side of the Strip.
And Oliver, talk to us about just the significance of this actually getting through the line for Prime Minister Netanyahu. This has been 15 months of a lot of turbulence for him and his government, and also a lot of the families that are there.
Yeah, I mean, Jen, the first thing you see when you get here to Tel Aviv is, in the airport, you see all the sort of posters for the hostages. I mean, you go to any sort of city in the world, you'll still see that around synagogues and Israeli embassies. And this is really very present in the minds of the people here in Israel. And there's been a real division within Israel about how to sort of continue prosecuting this war. And really sort of a lot of protests in the streets, and a lot of people here in Tel Aviv in particular, very upset with Benjamin Netanyahu and the sort of right-wing coalition that he has built, saying that basically they wanting to prosecute the war with greater sort of aggression than would actually help bringing back these hostages. This is a #1 priority here in Israel and for Benjamin Netanyahu. What the real debate centers around is within this sort of cabinet with these sort of right-wing parts of the government, some of whom had even sort of suggested that they would actually walk away from the coalition government if this deal were signed, because they want to continue to pursue the war, to continue to pursue it aggressively in order to basically wipe out Hamas entirely. What this ceasefire seems to do is sort of bring people together, though we should say critically, this is a ceasefire for 6 weeks. This is the first of 3 phases that has been sort of put together for this architecture of the ceasefire, which would ultimately end in total peace. It is going to be very difficult, I think, for the right-wing parts of this government to continue the ceasefire after 6 weeks. This may not be the sort of light at the end of the tunnel that the rest of the world is anticipating. We'll have to see how that plays out with internal Israeli politics. But for the time being, it appears that ceasefire will go into effect this Sunday.